Under the sweltering Texas sun, the Meadow Creek Zoo sat in quiet disrepair. Its fences were rusting, its paint peeling, and its animals hidden in crumbling cages. Among them was Luna, a 10-year-old black panther who had once been the star attraction. Her coat had shimmered like polished obsidian, her golden eyes so piercing that visitors swore she could look into their very souls. Families had driven from miles away to see her, marveling at her beauty and strength. But now she lay stretched out on a patch of concrete, her breathing shallow, her once muscular body reduced to skin and bone, except for her grotesquely swollen belly. For months, the zookeepers had told anyone who asked that Luna was pregnant. They insisted her distended stomach and fatigue were simply signs of cubs on the way. But time dragged on. Panthers usually give birth after 3 months, yet Luna had been expecting for nearly 5. Concerned visitors whispered among themselves. But every question was met with a shrug, or a muttered, "She's fine." Nothing about her condition looked fine. Elena Rivera, a wildlife photographer who had traveled the world documenting big cats in their natural habitats, decided to see for herself. She had read worrying reports online about Meadow Creek Zoo, and what she found when she arrived made her stomach twist.
Ow.
The enclosures were decrepit. Leopards limped in circles with no medical care. Lions lay in their own waste. Water bowls shimmered green with algae. Then she saw Luna. The great black cat was sprawled across the floor, too weak to rise. Flies hovered over scraps of rotting meat tossed into the pen days earlier. Her ribs were visible beneath her fur, her gums nearly white, her eyes vacant and glassy. Elena raised her camera with trembling hands and began taking pictures. Each click felt like a plea for help. That evening, she shared the images online with a single sentence. "This is Luna. She's been pregnant for 5 months. Something is very wrong." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, her post was being shared thousands of times. Comments poured in from horrified viewers across the world. "That animal is clearly dying," one person wrote. Another said, "This is abuse. Someone needs to intervene now." Veterinarians began weighing in as well, explaining that Luna's belly was far too large for pregnancy, and warning that she might be suffering from a tumor or internal infection. But the zoo's director, Gerald Price, dismissed the outrage. He had been running Meadow Creek for nearly a decade, and his focus had always been profit over welfare. When local reporters called him for comment, he scoffed. "She's just moody because she's pregnant," he said. "People online don't understand animals the way we do." He believed the story would fade within a few days. He underestimated the power of the internet. The following morning, Jonah Cruz, a 26-year-old social justice influencer with nearly 2 million followers, saw Elena's post. Jonah had built his platform by exposing corruption and negligence, and the sight of Luna hit him hard. Within hours, he was in his car driving 3 hours to the zoo. He began live streaming as soon as he arrived, broadcasting the conditions of the facility to more than 50,000 viewers. His camera captured the filth, the rotting food, the broken cages, and then it focused on Luna. She lay motionless in her cage, surrounded by waste, flies crawling across her face. Jonah's voice trembled as he narrated what he saw. "This zoo is a disgrace," he said. His video spread like wildfire across social media. Viewers flooded the comments with anger and despair. Former visitors began sharing their own experiences of seeing sick animals and being ignored by staff. A clear pattern emerged. Meadow Creek Zoo was a place of neglect and cruelty. Far away in New Mexico, Dr. Isabel Martinez, a respected wildlife veterinarian with 14 years of experience, was treating an injured lion when her assistant showed her Jonah's live stream. She froze as she watched Luna's heaving sides, the lifeless look in her eyes. "Pack the truck," she said quietly. "We're leaving tonight." When Isabel arrived at the zoo the next morning, she found hundreds of protesters gathered at the gates. They held signs and chanted, "Save Luna, shut down the zoo." Local news crews filmed the swelling crowd, while police officers tried to maintain order. The chants grew louder until even the officers pressed Gerald Price to let the veterinarian inside. Reluctantly, with cameras pointed at his face, he agreed. The stench hit Isabel the moment she stepped inside Luna's enclosure. It was the smell of neglect, of decay. Luna lay in the corner, barely breathing, her once glossy coat dull and lifeless. Isabel knelt beside her, resting a gentle hand on the distended belly. The mass beneath her palm was not soft, not natural. It was hard, irregular, wrong. With steady hands, she set up her portable ultrasound machine. The crowd outside grew silent, watching through the fence as the screen flickered to life. Isabel moved the probe slowly across Luna's abdomen, searching for signs of cubs, for any spark of hope. She found none. What filled the screen instead was a massive tumor, a grotesque shape pressing against the panther's organs. Isabel's voice trembled as she spoke. "This is not pregnancy. This is a tumor. She's dying." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Zoo employees shifted nervously. One finally admitted, "We haven't had a real vet here in years." Isabel turned on Gerald, demanding, "When was the last time this animal received proper care?" He looked away, muttering excuses. And then, in a moment that would be broadcast across national news, he snapped, "Animals die. That's nature. If she dies, we'll just get another panther. It's not a big deal." The crowd erupted in fury, their chants turning into roars of outrage. With pressure mounting and donations flooding in from Jonah's followers, a specialized animal transport team arrived within hours. Luna was carefully loaded into a vehicle bound for the Dallas Wildlife Medical Center. As she was lifted onto the stretcher, something extraordinary happened. For the first time in months, Luna raised her head. Her golden eyes locked onto Isabel's face, and for one fleeting moment, a spark of trust flickered between them. The surgery that followed was the most difficult of Isabel's career. A team of 4 surgeons worked for 3 grueling hours. The tumor was nearly 15 pounds, wrapped around Luna's organs. Removing it required delicate precision. At one point, Luna's heart rate plummeted. "Stay with us," Isabel whispered, her hands never faltering. Finally, with one last careful incision, the tumor was freed. It was benign, but it had nearly killed her. Slowly, Luna's vital signs began to stabilize. Recovery was slow, but miraculous. Within days, she was eating solid food again. Her eyes regained their brightness. Her coat began to shine. 8 weeks later, she was transported to Silver Plains Sanctuary in Colorado, a 200-acre refuge with forests, streams, and open skies. For the first time in years, Luna had space to run. She began cautiously, exploring her new home, regaining her strength day by day. Then one morning, she broke into a full sprint across the grass. The sanctuary staff, watching from the fence, cheered and cried as the Black Panther stretched her powerful muscles and leaped with the grace she had nearly lost forever. The investigation into Meadow Creek Zoo uncovered years of deliberate neglect. Fake veterinary records were found. Expired restaurant meat had been purchased to feed the animals. Sick creatures were hidden from visitors. Gerald Price was arrested and charged with multiple counts of animal cruelty. The zoo's license was permanently revoked, and 13 surviving animals were rescued and relocated to proper sanctuaries. Today, Luna is thriving. At 13 years old, she moves with the power and grace of a cat half her age. Visitors at Silver Plains often pause at her enclosure, struck by the intensity of her gaze. Her golden eyes, once dulled by suffering, now gleam with strength and trust. When Isabel visits, Luna sometimes lifts her head and stares at her quietly, as though remembering the woman who refused to give up. Luna's story spread far beyond Texas. Millions who had never thought deeply about animal welfare became advocates, signing petitions, supporting sanctuaries, and demanding stricter laws. It all began because one photographer chose to speak, one influencer chose to amplify, and one veterinarian chose to act. Her survival is a testament to the power of compassion and persistence. It proves that every voice matters, every action counts, and every life is worth fighting for. Luna's golden eyes no longer tell a story of despair, but of resilience, hope, and the belief that change is possible when people stand together.